Okay. Paddle Florida is a nonprofit 501(c). Our mission is to raise awareness about water conservation, wildlife preservation, restoration of springs, and protection of waterways in Florida. We stage multi-day trips in Florida's most spectacular waterways, October through April of each year. People that volunteer with us have been on trips for several years. They're trip leaders certified through the American Canoe Association. And then we always have one volunteer on a trip who's either an EMT, a nurse, or a paramedic. We have a U-Haul. We carry the gear for our paddlers. We have a caterer do breakfast and dinner, a support vehicle for rest stops. We have safety boats on the water, and we have educational speakers come in each night at 7, and we have one night of music on the trip.
It's just fun to be with other people who love kayaking, who love nature, who want to protect the waterways and the springs of Florida. The best thing about it is that first cup of coffee in the morning, looking out over the river and knowing that you're going to paddle that with another 20, 30 people who have that explorer spirit, and then sit there at night around the campfire while someone educates you on the history or the ecological importance of the place where you literally just paddle. It's just amazing. You don't have to be a drastically experienced kayaker. You can come out, you can rent equipment. We have plenty of people on the water that are more than happy to help you.
And before you ever spend a penny on a trip, you can click on that trip and you can see the complete itinerary down to the mileage per day, where you're going to eat lunch, where you're going to stop for the night. All the details are there. The packing lists are all there. We typically contract with a local vendor to come on site and cook for us. You're getting a guy that you would want at your house cooking barbecue. You're getting the lady who has the special secret for fried chicken.
During the pandemic, people really connected with being out in nature, just feeling like they took away a really important aspect of, just the aesthetics and the importance. And so I think that's continuing on, and people really are looking for those experiences.
People from all over come to a specific area, learn about that area, and learn about the issues of that area.
We do offer nice rivers, springs, easy paddling, but we also have some challenging coastal paddles too. So it kind of meets all different people and what they're looking for.
A diversity of habitats. Some rivers like the Swanee and here, and there are a lot of springs trips, but there are other rivers too, where there's mangroves or your own little keys. Florida has the largest concentration of springs in the world, and protection of those springs, the aquifer and waterways are critically important to our future. And what we hope to do is raise awareness, but more than that, we want people to become an advocate. On the Swanee trip, we have the Florida Springs Institute coming out. We have the Water Management District. We have professors from the University of Florida and Santa Fe College.
These speakers are not standing up at a lectern talking. They're in the group. They all have a unique take on what they're talking about, but it's always based on right where we are.
Some trips are 20 people, some might be 40 people. They develop a relationship with whoever the managers and the people are in the parks.
They stage a lot of their trips on rivers and spring runs, so it just makes sense that they're at Florida State Parks because we have some of the most beautiful springs and rivers. You're going to see turkey, you're going to see deer.
Getting people out to see it, experience it, is some of the best ways to preserve it. Once you see the beauty, you just want to take care of it like anything else.
Conservation is critically important. There's a lot of issues with runoff into the waterways and contamination of the waterways. We're always interested in talking with people to be volunteers.
The whole idea with the kayak community is everybody helps everybody else. A lot of times you're just on the water paddling. Sometimes you're helping carry a boat, you're moving gear around, you're serving food.
The biggest criteria for being a volunteer is being able to work with a group. We all just really work together and do what needs to be done.
We are the lead boat and the sweep boat for any trip, so that people are in between us, help set up camp, make sure that the evening programs go off smoothly.
Working with the new people, that first night, you come off the water and you set up camp and they've made friends and they've done it. So by the next morning, they're a seasoned paddler and a camper, and by the end of the trip, they're already planning their next trip and how many other people they're going to bring and where they're going to go.
We have a lot of people who come back And when they come back, they usually bring somebody else with them.
There's no membership fee to be part of Paddle Florida. If you'd like to come on a trip, you just register online and at paddleflorida.org. We have done over 100 multi-day trips. We're headed into our 16th season. We are funded through trip fees, grants, and we run a couple campaigns each year. We're always looking for donations, and on our website, we have a donation page. And you can also enter to win the kayak raffle.
Their primary fundraiser. And they usually have kayak donated, camp chairs, maybe a tent. And so they sell tickets for that throughout the year.
Paddle Florida uses the donations to supplement the budget for getting the word out there. So we're getting the word out, what's going on with the waterways in the state of Florida.
And I just think it's great that we can bring people together. We're all one group.
Okay, so that was the video, a little bit about us. And now what I'd like to do is talk about our team. So we have 3 employees, myself, and then 2 part-time folks who also work a full-time job. So we have Jody, who has a background in environmental education, is an avid paddler, and also Shirley, who has a great deal of diving experience leading trips with the Florida Paddling Trails Association and the Florida Trail Association. So we're very excited to have them join us on trips and with their expertise and background. So this slide shows some trips where we had Florida State Parks staff come out and speak to the group. A couple of these are from our Swanee trip and one from the Santa Fe trip. And as I mentioned, we have a partnership with Florida State Parks, and we're very appreciative of these guys coming out. They have a great background. They're knowledgeable about the parks, and it's always good to hear from them during the trips. So a bit about the history. Paddle Florida was founded by Bill Richards in 2008 when they were going down the Swanee River, and they said, gee, wouldn't more people come if you had the food catered and someone carried all your gear? And Bill had a background in tourism, in sports management, and had run the Bike Florida trips for several years. So it was just a great way for him to use his expertise and background. So we carry the gear. We have caterers come out and do dinner. We have environmental education speakers at night, and then one night of music entertainment during the trip. We're a 501(c). Our mission is to raise awareness about water conservation, wildlife preservation, restoration of springs, and waterways protections in Florida. We're certified by Florida Sea and have a silver level certification. So what do? We scout trips in advance. Currently, we're working on our trip schedule for the 25-26 season. We have partnerships with local outfitters. We work with local caterers. We try to give back to that local community. We provide the shuttle. We shuttle camping gear, paddlers, and boats. And we have safety boats on the water. And so I think one of the biggest questions I get is, so what do I need to bring? What do I have on my kayak with me? And so all you need to have on your boat is really, obviously the boat, the paddle, and your PFD, sunscreen, hat, water bottles, camera, cell phone, snorkel gear if appropriate to the trip, and a change of clothes and some rain gear. We carry everything else in the U-Haul. Your camp chair, your sleeping bag, tent, clothes, reading material, headlamps, whatever you bring with you. So each year we try to run a trip in each of the 5 water management districts. So we have the St. John's Water Management District, South Florida, Southwest Florida, Swanee River, and then Northwest Florida. We have a couple videos of different types of trips we'd like to share with you. They're not that long, but I think it gives you a good idea of what people see and experience on the trips. Do you see the screen, Doug?
Yes.
Watch people's eyes open, because most people think of Florida, they think of old people and they think of Disney. And when people come to Central Florida and realize that there's this amazing ecosystem, and their eyes open to what is not on the highway, it's not in Disney, it's barely even in the brochures. And to see people realize that and how wonderful it is here that we're sitting on this treasure. That's really fun to see that. And I always enjoy seeing these for myself, but to see other people wake up and recognize what we have here is really fun. You know, why is Paddle Florida special as opposed to say Outfitters in this? I think it's really low key. You know, we're camping. It's very basic. You know, we're not staying in hotels, and so we really get to know the area, to realize some of the history and the depth of experience and the breadth of time from indigenous peoples up to the French and the Spanish, the British, and others coming through. I think you realize that there's a lot of depth here.
There's people from Chicago and Pittsburgh, from all over the United States, all these different walks of life. And they're seeing things for the first time, particularly on the Wekiva. When we get to Blue Springs, and you're seeing the manatees, and people from Chicago never see manatees. Your first day, they shuttle you up to Rock Run, and you paddle down Rock Run to the Wekiva State Park, and then you get to camp at Wekiva State Park. You know, first of all, I mean, Wekiva Springs is beautiful. Rock Run is just gorgeous. It's 3 days. It's the clarity of the water, the number of springs that are feeding the river, and then the river running into the St. Johns. The nice thing about Paddle Florida is the variety of the trips, because some are very, very simple. You know, that someone for the first time that they're in a kayak can do. And there's some of the trips are challenging, like the Florida Keys. And that's good for experienced paddlers. It keeps them on their toes.
Okay, I'm going to show the video for the Keys now.
Looks good.
Okay. Thank you, Doug.
Having that end point and that beginning point, tying it together is. I've done some races in my life and things like that, and you have a goal. And when you have a goal and everyone has that same goal, I feel like you come together and you push each other on, and it's very satisfying. We have a good group of people. We're watching out for each other. I'm pumped. I'm ready for it. This is just typical.
having that water 5 to 10 feet deep, and you see the bottom, and we saw manatee came up next to my dad's kayak to get a breath of air, and it kind of freaked us both out in a good way, like, holy crap, they're huge, you know. And yesterday at the lunch stop, it looked like a mom and a baby dolphin were just kind of rising right in front of us, and you know, everyone's grabbing their cameras, and you can never capture it, but I'll never forget it. That was amazing. The birds going through a mangrove tunnel. I mean, we actually had to duck down and use the mangroves to pull yourself through. That was just unbelievable. I'd never been in anything like that before. You know, what sold me on Paddle Florida was the fact that they really encourage it to be your trip. So yes, they bring you the food and they carry your gear, but they encourage you to make the paddle yours, you know, make it unique. If you want to go, not necessarily apart from the group, but take those detours or stay in the water longer, go at your own pace. They really encourage it to be your trip. And I think that's really awesome. I'm Emily Kayer. I'm from Jackson, Montana. I mean, you're in it rather than just looking at it out the window. You're kind of involved in the whole system this way. I've never done a trip like this. Changed my perspective on this whole area.
Okay, so those were a couple of videos just to show you different places that we go, and we'll kind of talk about how our Keys trip has evolved over time. But this is our schedule for 2024-25. We start on the Swanee River each fall, and which will be October 15th to 20th. And the section that we paddle is from Madison Blue down to Branford, which is known as, quote unquote, the Springs section of the river. We take a day break, 24 hours, I think. And then we stage the Santa Fe Springs celebration trip. And we have several folks who are doing both. So we stay at Post Springs for a couple nights, and then folks are able to paddle from River Rise on the Santa Fe down to Rock Bluff. And they get to paddle all of the Ichetucknee. And there are a couple locations where we're camping that have cabins available if folks would like to book those for a couple nights. In January, we are in the Keys for the Florida Keys Challenge trip. And, you know, we've done this in several different ways. We've gone from Penny Camp all the way down to Fort Zachary Taylor. And what's happened over time is, in fact, several of those spots that you saw in the video are now housing developments. So camping is becoming scarce in the Keys as hurricanes come through. They rebuild, but they rebuild with RV sites. So, and what we found is this tends to be on everyone's bucket list. So we partnered with the Newfound Harbor Marine Institute in Big Pine Key. And we're able to stay at their location, and they have cabins. They're on 10 acres. It's absolutely beautiful. The rooms, you can look at the water. We're able to launch from there, and we're able to serve a broader range of skills. So from beginner, intermediate to expert, we run 3 different paddle choices each day. We can teach skills. And a couple days we'll go off-site to different locations to kind of show you something else. And we have shuttles to help us with that. But we ran it for the first time last year in this format, and people really liked the format. And we're very appreciative that those researchers and professors can come in as speakers and share their knowledge with you. And we also have Bill and Mary Burnham, who are with Burnham Guides, and they wrote the paddling guide for the Keys, and they're with us for the duration of that trip. So it's nice to have that expertise. In February, we head to Indian River Lagoon for our mangroves, manatees, and more trip. And we partnered with the Environmental Learning Center in Wabasso Island so we can camp at their facility, and you can take a pontoon ride to explore Pelican Island. You can walk the trails at their location there. But we start on the St. Sebastian River and spend a couple nights there on our manatee search paddles, which are usually located at St. Sebastian River Preserve State Park up in by the bridge. So we have a day to go explore that. Then we head over to the Inlet Marina, which is just north of the St. Sebastian Inlet. And we stay there for a couple nights. There's pelicans, dolphins. You can walk to the beach. So that is a very nice location under the coastal oaks. And then from there, we head down to Wabasso Island and then down to Round Island, which is another location that's kind of known for the manatees. And you can also walk over to the beach from there. In March, we head to the Kissimmee River post-restoration. And we'll be visiting this location for the first time. And we're very excited about this trip. It's more remote. The river is just beautiful. And we partnered with the South Florida Water Management Districts and the Riverwoods Education Center to provide their expertise on this trip. And also with Lake Kissimmee State Park, and they will be participating in their history tour at the cow camp. So that'll be kind of a fun part of that trip as well. And then we end the season back at the Swanee River for 2 weekends of our paddling festival. So people ask, how do what do your fees look like? The festival, which I'm going to talk about in more detail in a moment, is $225 for the weekend, which includes everything, your food, the shuttle, which is hard to believe it can be done for $225 these days. The $1,000 number is for the Keys, which is all cabin-based housing. But typically our other trips run from $550, $650, around that range. It's just that Keys trip is kind of the outlier there. So this is a bit about the festival, and I highly recommend this if you're looking to try it out, as it is 2 nights and you're not too far away from your car. So your car will be in the designated parking area. You can camp up on the bluff overlooking the Swanee River. And we have 2 days of paddling. The first day you paddle the Withlacoochee, Madison Blue Spring back to Swanee River State Park. And then the second day you paddle the Swanee back to the state park. We have an educational speaker 1 night and 1 night of music. And it's just a really good way, to meet other people, to see how it's done and test it out. And we have 2 weekends this year because we had about 50 people on our waiting list last year. So we decided to just run 2 of them. And we're excited about that. It'll be fun to be up there. So here are some photos of different trips and locations where we've been. And the bottom right-hand corner is right by the old bridge at Honda State Park, which is no longer even available for camping. So, and you'll see Blue Springs State Park. There's some other locations on there. Little River Spring up in the top right-hand corner. So since 2008, we've had about 4,000 paddlers visit us from the United States, Canada, and the UK. Most people are, or about 40% of people are outside Florida. We have mostly kayakers. We do have canoers and more stand-up paddle boards. And as we try to show you through the videos, it could be novice to expert. We try to have something for everybody. And here are a couple of reviews. About 99% of people come back and paddle with us again, and many folks refer their friends. So we appreciate that. I'll just leave this for a minute so you can look at it. We also have testimonials on our website. We have a YouTube channel with more videos. I don't know if you guys caught the Olympics. This is what we are not, but there's the new cross kayak sport where they let all the little boats go down at the same time and they battle it out in the big waves. We are not that. Although that did get like the #1 viewership for any of the kayak events. I thought that was pretty funny. The second photo shows a racer. We're not that. This is not a race. What we are is about visiting beautiful places, health and well-being, immersing yourself in nature, in-place learning, and becoming part of a bigger paddle community. The trips are like a reunion. You know, a lot of people like Doug, I don't know how many years you've been coming, many, many years. It's always fun when he's there. But it's like a big family reunion. You see people that, you know, maybe you haven't seen since last season, or maybe you have, but it's really a neat thing. So where can you learn about us? Our website is paddleflorida.org. All the trips are on the website. There's a home page and then a dedicated trip page for each trip. We send out a monthly e-newsletter, and that's a good way to stay in touch. You can subscribe to that right on our website. And as I mentioned, we're on Facebook, and we have a YouTube channel as well. We're also on Instagram. But that is a bit about us and what we're looking to do in 2024 and 25. And we're excited that you guys are here to learn about us. So thank you. Thanks, Doug.
Okay, Janice, thank you very much. Let's go ahead and open it up for some questions. Type your questions into the chat box, but I'm going to ask a couple to get things going. So Janice, I think I remember your first trip on Paddle Florida. When was that, and how did you get involved with helping organize?
Yeah, so good question. So let me see. I was attending a paddle event. I think it was back in 2014. And there was a presentation about Paddle Florida. So I signed up and went on a trip, and that was actually January of 15. So I came as a participant. And I've been a paddler since 2000, but primarily in the Midwest, the Great Lakes. And I was relocated with my job in 2009, and I retired from that job in 2016. So then I was a volunteer, and the rest just kind of happened a few years later.
Okay. So in case we have any beginning paddlers on the trip, of the trips coming up, what would you recommend for a beginner paddler with maybe with a shorter boat than some of the sea kayaks?
Yes. So you could do the Swanee, the Santa Fe.
Okay.
And you could do the festivals. And, you know, we also have a beginner option for the Keys, and you can rent a boat for that. And we have had people come with 14-foot boats, which is okay for the Keys. So
Okay. And on some of your trips, I remember there are rental opportunities for people that want to try a different boat or a longer boat too, right?
yeah, exactly. So we partner with a local outfitter. And they have rental options. So if you're coming from Big White North, in the winter, you have an option. You could fly down and just rent a boat. We have quite a few people doing that for our January, February, March trips.
Okay. So here's a question. Is there an age restriction? I know my 13-year-old would love to experience this.
Children are welcome. And in fact, I think the youngest person we've had is maybe 5, and the oldest is, 90s. So that's a
And
pretty.
yeah. And when are the next season trips announced?
So we announce our season on May 1st of each year. So if you're signed up to receive the newsletter, then you get that season announcement that way. If not, you could just check our website. And we're currently working on that slate of trips for 25, 26. So.
Okay. Great. And you're always looking for new opportunities, new trips to kind of make a couple new ones each year, I noticed. So.
Yes. So we try to introduce 1 or 2 new trips, different locations, maybe a different format. The all cabin format for the Keys has been very, very popular. No one has said, wow, I wish I was in a tent for the week. Surprising. So
all right.
we may do something else with that format in the future. We like the mix. I'm a camper. I like to be on the river, but it's nice to have different options.
All right. Well, I don't see any more questions right now. Do you have anything else to add before I close it up?
No, I just want to say thank you for joining us. We appreciate it. My phone number is on the website. You're welcome to call. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have, and we hope to see you on the river.
Excellent. Well, I will see you on the river. So I'm going on the Kissimmee River this trip, so that's near and dear to me. So thank you very much, Janice. And I wanted to mention next month, we have our webinars on the Corkscrew Swamp Sanctuary, which is a very special place. It's the oldest and largest old growth cypress swamp left in the country in North America. So I encourage you to join us, and you can find out how you can explore that sanctuary with the director. And so please, if you haven't signed up for all the webinars, please do so. And this webinar will be available in a few days on our site and on the State Parks YouTube channel. So thank you very much, Janice. And I hope to see some of you on the next Paddle Florida trip that I go on. So thank you.
Thank you. All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.